if I'm honest, when I first started out as an artist, I had a bit of an issue with asking for any money for my art because for me, I enjoyed doing it as what I love to do. And to have somebody spending their money on something that I've just done because I enjoy it, something didn't feel right for me at first. I had to like work through some stuff there. It took me a while to realize that the more money that I earned, the more money I had to do good with as well. So I wasn't really helping anybody by, underselling myself. And now obviously I can donate pieces and give 100% to charities and stuff like that.
Well, good morning. My name is Coco and welcome to another episode of The Big Chat. And I've got a very special guest for you today. Actually, someone that I was introduced through Giles Paley-Phillips, our amazing podcast producer. He's not only friends with this person, but has spoken to her on Blank. So check her out on Blank, little plug there. But she is honestly just unbelievably talented. Now, I know we seem to be going through a creative streak at the moment when we're using technology. We can't touch and feel everything, and you especially can't touch and feel what she's going to be showing us today because they're quite valuable. But I'd love to introduce you to Sophie Green, who is not only one of the most talented artists I've ever come across, but she's also a conservationist and is doing so much with her work. So welcome, Sophie, this morning.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me, and thank you for such a lovely introduction as well.
And you are a big deal.
Thank you. Yeah, I told her to say that.
Well, she is, definitely. So for those of you that can see these beautiful, you might think they're pictures behind you or photos. They're not, are they?
They are not. No, they're acrylic paintings on linen canvas, balancing vicariously on some chairs behind me.
We are not going to let anything happen to them. They're going to stay there. I've got my eyes on the lion, but they are, Sophie, they are magnificent. They're beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
They're absolutely stunning, and people can check out your work, and we'll put all the details of how people can get more information about what you do. So we're here today to talk about we'll talk a bit about your journey, how you got into art, how you got into what you're doing, why you love it so much, but also some of the great causes that you're supporting, because you really are, you're a giver. You're another giver.
I'm a giver.
Yeah. So how long have you actually been painting? Because you were a teacher for a while, weren't you?
Yeah, so I used to be a primary school teacher, but I've painted for pretty much my whole life since I was a kid. I obviously used to do it, just that's what kids do. I used to do it for fun. And as I sort of moved through adult life, I used to work in the film industry for a number of years actually, and then eventually trained to be a primary school teacher. But throughout that journey, I kind of always painted on the side just as like a hobby. It was always animals, always wildlife. I was never really that interested in painting or drawing anything else. And so, when I decided to finally become an artist, it was kind of a no-brainer to carry on painting wildlife and animals and just go for it, basically.
And where do you get, does this like come from your head? Do you like think you see a lion in your head and you draw a lion, or is it something you see an amazing like photo? Or how do you get that inspiration for those paint? Because I'm just looking at that lion. So, he wants to be with me. I'm telling you.
Yeah,
so beautiful. I can't tell people how much I've been looking for a lion to go in my bedroom for so long. So this is very, very exciting for me.
Found your lion.
I found my lion. But the snow leopard is very important to you as well, isn't it? Talk about the the conservation work and all the work that you're doing that ties in so well with why you love wildlife and all of these things.
Yeah, so in terms of inspiration, I think I'm mostly inspired by the natural world and by animals, but also by sort of conservation issues that are close to my heart, or issues that need addressing, or I personally think people need to be made aware of. So often I'll come up with an idea in my head of, say, I want to do a lion portrait and I want it to convey this emotion and I want the lighting to be like this. And I'll come up with something in my head, and then I'll kind of look for photos that I can use to use as reference, because I'm not able to sort of think of a lion and then paint it strand by strand without using photos. I mean, for people that can't see, my style is photorealistic, so I definitely need to use photos to help me. But the germ of the idea comes from something that is close to my heart. And yeah, so I'm an artist and I'm also a conservationist. So I try and use my art to raise awareness and money for conservation issues. That's always a strand that runs throughout my art. My collection at the moment, the Impermanence collection, I've been working on, and it's going to be exhibited in London in November at the Oxo throughout the 2nd to the 13th.
12th. Oh, I got 12th to the 13th. Why did I say the 1st?
2nd to the 13th.
2nd to the 13th. Yeah, I know why the 1st is important, but the 2nd to the 13th.
Exactly.
The Oxo Tower, which is an amazing venue. I mean, they've got such beautiful space there, haven't they? It'd be amazing.
Oh, yeah.
How many paintings are going to be exhibited at the exhibition?
So there'll be 14 pieces. 11 of those will be originals, and 3 of them will be sort of canvas prints that I'll embellish, just sort of slightly on the more affordable side. But yeah, it's a huge space. I've been to a couple of exhibitions at the Oxo before and was like, oh, this is amazing. I need to have an exhibition here. And then it wasn't until I booked it that I suddenly realized how big of a space it is for one person to have a solo show. And it's, yeah, really big windows, is right on the Thames. So I think it's going to be great, but it's, yeah, a lot of work. And the whole show and the whole collection is basically around various different conservation issues, mostly based around climate change and the wildlife that's affected by that. So yeah, the snow leopard, as you were saying, is quite an important piece to me. It's one of the projects that we're kind of funding through sales of the show is safeguarding snow leopards in the Himalayas and doing sort of vital research on them to see what the effects of climate change are having on them. So yeah, I had to have a snow leopard in the collection. I wasn't planning on painting a snow leopard, but I couldn't not really as soon as I signed that project.
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely, I mean, turn your chair a little bit just so we can see there. I mean, look at that. It's just unbelievable. I mean, you can't even imagine. Really, you know, and this exhibition is this invitation only? Can people come along and see it? Everyone
can come from the 2nd to the 13th. Anyone can come any time of day. I'll be there pretty much every day, just chatting to people. And it's exciting because I think nowadays a lot, as you were saying earlier, a lot is done on social media or online. And I think that's great because it connects us with people all over the world that we wouldn't normally necessarily. But there's a big difference between seeing a painting in a picture on Instagram and seeing a picture in person, and it's sort of real tangible art. Yeah. And being able to meet the artist and speak to the artist about the collection and about the project fund and stuff like that. So that's why I kind of wanted to be there every day to meet people and explain what this is all about.
And that, yeah, that really is a big deal, actually. Like you say, being hands-on, being able to really, it's, you know, you don't often have the privilege of being able to meet the person that actually created these masterpieces. And that I imagine there'll be a lot of information around them about why they've inspired you and the other causes. So talk me through, there's something very special about this collection is that you are very generously giving. And I mean, this is very generous. I know I keep saying it to you, but yeah, and you've done things before and we'll talk about that, but you're very generously giving, you're going to give 30% of the proceeds, aren't you, across to 4 charities? And which are those 4 charities that you're going to be sharing?
Yeah, so we basically, what I would normally do is I'd give a percentage to a charity, but I love doing that. However, once the money's left me, it's really hard to sort of know where it's gone, what it's doing, what impact it's having. So this year I decided to set up a project fund. And so instead of giving money to a charity or charities, I'm directly giving the money into projects instead. So that can be through the charity. For example, there's a project with the Marine Conservation Society where we're planning on replanting seagrass around the UK. And there's several projects through a charity called I4, which is a charity that I've worked quite closely with before. And yeah, and stuff like that. So we've got some really exciting projects, and yeah, it's going to be great because I get to see the impact that those the money is having and how the projects benefit from that.
And that's amazing. So you work quite closely with these guys. I imagine you've got good relationships formed with them, and you've been really generous in the past, haven't you? I think you've donated a painting. Is that right? Am I got my facts straight there?
Yeah, I donate paintings fairly regularly to auctions and stuff like that. Yeah, charity events. Sometimes I donate originals. Sometimes it just might be a print, depending on sort of type of event. And yeah, I give 10% of my income or my profits normally to various conservation charities. So it's just something that I've always done. And I think I said previously that when you've done it from day one, it doesn't really feel like a big deal. It doesn't really feel like you're doing this huge gesture, because it's ingrained in my ethos of my career. It's what I do. It's if I didn't do it, I don't know that I would particularly have much passion for what I do, because I would just be sitting there painting for no greater purpose, basically. So yeah, it's, for me, it's what keeps me going anyway. So it doesn't feel like as big of a deal, but yeah.
I mean, I can totally relate on many levels. As you know, we've had conversations about things that I've done for charity, and that's always been my driving force, is even if it's not necessarily the money that gets towards the project or the charity, it's the profile, and it's raising their profile and raising the awareness. And that's so important, getting those messages across. And I mean, already my daughter said she wants to come to the exhibition, so she's like completely, and she's 10. So I mean,
amazing.
This is that everyone can come along and see and enjoy. And the Oxo is such an accessible venue as well. It really is for Southerners like myself. You know, you can get Giles up there, I'm sure, on a train. He's got or a bus or whatever means of transport fancies that day.
Yeah.
He'll be coming along to support you, and many others. But it's you know, how long does it take to create one of these masterpieces? I mean, I know I'm obsessed with the lion, but how long did the lion take you to really? I mean, he's beautiful. Is it he? Beautiful.
Yeah, male lion. Yeah, you can tell by the mane.
Yeah, that's why I like lions, because I've got a mane. Maybe that's what it is.
Oh, there you go. I mean, yeah, they're quite fierce, aren't they? Lions, I think they've got a lot of character. So.
They're fierce, but they're thoughtful. They look. You know what I mean? There's something about their eyes where they're kind of strong, but they're centered. I think that's what I kind of resonate with. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if anyone would agree. I'm quite so centered, but certainly resilient and strong. I can do those two things.
Oh, definitely.
How long? So how long did that piece take you?
This piece took, to be honest, I was supposed to finish this at the end of August. That was the deadline I gave myself, and it took over a month. However, I had to go to an auction over in New York in the middle of painting it, so I kind of had a big chunk of time off. And so it did take a lot longer than I intended, but I would normally set aside a month to finish a piece, and sometimes that will just run way over. If it's bigger, then it will take a couple of months or a few months, and if it's smaller, it might take less. But yeah, around a month.
Amazing, though. Like, I'm just literally a month. I mean, I was thinking you were going to say like years.
No, I mean, because I do it all the time. I do it full time, and I live in my studio, and I wake up and paint. I can paint all day if I need to. So it's all consuming. It's literally my life. So yeah, I mean, if I painted a bit here and a bit there, and I had other stuff that I needed to do, then it would take me a long time. But in terms of like, that's just painting. Obviously, there's a whole load of work that goes into it before you even pick up a paintbrush. And, it might be months and months of like coming up with ideas and sourcing photos that I can use and getting permission from the photographers and stuff like that. And then once you finish the piece, then you've got to sort of like varnish it, frame it, to photograph it for print, whatever that process might be. So it is a long process, but in terms of painting, it doesn't probably take me as long as people would imagine.
But like you say, there is a process involved, like anything. There's a big process. And the framing, because you mentioned about the framing when we spoke the other day, actually. And I mean, that's a big thing, because a frame can really, as a local artist, Aisha in Tunbridge Wells, and I remember talking to her about the framing. She was like, it's hard, you know, you've got to get the framing really, really right, haven't you, for a piece like that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't think I'm particularly good at choosing frames. Whenever, I generally just go into a framer and just say, like, what do you think? Because I don't have an eye for it. But yeah, it definitely helps to finish off the piece and make it pop. And sometimes, you know, a frame can draw attention to a piece, and sometimes a frame can draw attention away from a piece. And I think you've got to be really careful about how you do that.
That's a very good point, actually, because you can, if you go too ornate around something that's got a lot of detail, then it can draw away from it, can't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I mean, talk to me about the snow leopard, because the snow leopard we're very upset with the fact that there is not a snow leopard emoji. I'm just putting that out there. Okay. We would like a snow leopard emoji, please, whoever's listening to this, because there should be. There's a leopard, but no snow leopards. And that is an indication of the fact that snow leopards, there's not many left, are there? I mean, how many snow leopards have we got left at the moment?
Do you know what? I couldn't tell you the exact number because they're so, I mean, maybe there's figures out there, but they're so elusive. And I think snow leopards are known for being such an elusive species, which is why the research on them and safeguarding them is so vital. And because of climate change, their habitats are starting to change as well. So I think because they're so vulnerable and they're so hard to come by anyway,
yeah,
this is one of the projects that I'm most excited about. There's definitely potential for me to sort of go out as well. If we manage to fund the whole project through this show, then there'll be hopefully potential to go out and sort of see the work that they're doing and stuff like that. So yeah, it'd be amazing. But in terms of emojis, there's so many animals I mean, I suppose they can't do them all, but
I mean, emoji is not the end of the world.
It's not the end of the world, but it definitely, do you know what though? I think stuff like that, it sounds silly, but it definitely helps to draw people's attention to certain things. Like, and there's been a lot of progress in terms of emojis for, various different societal issues. But in terms of wildlife, like I'm currently painting for the collection a pangolin, and people don't really know much about pangolins. And
pangolin, I don't even know what that is.
Yeah, or even what they are. You've probably seen pictures of them because they have become a little bit more well known. They're kind of these like scaly creatures. They've got brown scales and they have like a really long tail.
Right.
And they're often poached. So they're really, really vulnerable creatures, and they're quite small, and when they sort of try to protect themselves, they roll up into a ball. But I was looking for a pangolin emoji the other day to post on my story while I was painting, and I couldn't find one. I was like, oh, that's weird. And then I thought, is it that weird? Like, nobody really knows about them. Most people, I was sort of posting pictures of the painting and people were like, oh, is that an armadillo? And like, not many people even knew what it was. So I think, art is a really great way of introducing species and issues to the world without it sort of like being shoved down your throat. I posted, one of my pieces was a whale shark, and I posted something about how they was really vulnerable and this is why and blah blah blah. And so many people were like, oh, I didn't have any idea, like what even is that? Like, some people didn't know what a whale shark was. And so for me, it was really nice to see that people sort of like engaging and wanted to learn more, and took an interest in the conservation, like the wider conservation issues out there, just through pictures of art online.
And that is it. You're starting conversations about things that people don't know about, which is what it all counts. I've got to ask you, if you could be any of your animals or any of your paintings. I mean, you're going to say snow leopard, aren't you?
Me, I don't think I would be. I would probably be. I think I would be like a monkey or a chimp or something.
Would you?
Yeah, I'd have always been fascinated by primates and just anything. I don't know what it is about them that fascinates me. They're like humans, but just simpler and more. I don't know, less complicated. To be honest,
way of describing it. Who wouldn't prefer a less complicated human being?
Exactly, with so much character and sweet faces, and I just love them, and I love watching them. And yeah, I think that's what I would probably be. I've been interested in them since I was really, really young. I've always loved monkeys and stuff like that. Yeah, and that was one of my early memories, is going to the zoo as a child and seeing monkeys. And they were like, I went with my brother, who's like 10 years older than me, and all these monkeys were like fighting over each other to get a look at me. And I was just standing by their sort of like enclosure, and they were all like pulling each other out of the way to have a look. And my brother was like, it was so weird. It was like they all thought that you were a monkey. And probably did, because I was like a small child that looked kind of feral and had like, I was a big tomboy and refused to brush my hair when I was a kid. So I probably did look like some kind of primate.
Always the best way.
Exactly.
You've got to have a bit of both in you, haven't you? You've got to have a bit of both. So what other species have we got to look forward to at your exhibition?
So we've got an African wild dog, or a painted dog, as they're called, which, again, not many people know much about them. And a lot often people will ask if it's a hyena that I've painted. They've got the kind of like the big ears, and they're pack animals, pack hunters. I think it was Dynasties, the show, kind of did an episode on them or something, and that sort of drew a bit more attention. But I've got an African wild dog. I have got a couple of humpback whales, just because there are some sort of marine conservation projects. Yeah. Within the project fund, we're helping to fund some research on sharks and turtles as well. So there may or may not be a shark, depending on whether I get it finished or not.
Please do a shark, Sophie.
Well, they're very popular, and I'm starting to realize this now.
I'm obsessed. I mean, I hate to say it, because I'm kind of obsessed in a Jaws watching. We have this strange thing in my family where we watch very strange films about giant crocodiles and my family are listening. Blame my mother. But literally, my fascination, my daughter especially, is fascinated with sharks. She's constantly watching about whales, about sharks, educating me about it. She's very excited this morning. She thinks her hamster's pregnant. I'm like, oh. I mean, that is exciting, but she's really into, and that's something that my mother and I have always shared. We've always loved watching, David Attenborough and all of those. So I think, shark would be phenomenal, because you cannot keep a shark in captivity. That is something that is, like, to me, is, I mean, personally, I don't like anything being kept in captivity, and that's another reason why this is amazing, because you can go and see and share knowledge and spread awareness and admire the beauty of an animal without going to a zoo. Sorry, zoos, if you're listening now, but certainly, but people need to see these animals in their glory and look after them. But a shark, you can't actually keep a shark, even if you tried. They're just like, nah, you ain't doing it. And we all learned that in the first Jaws movie. I mean, that was educational.
Oh, was that where it came out?
Third, I think it was the third.
I haven't watched that.
Yeah, but it was literally that I can remember as a child. That's when I sort of researched about it because of that. And you cannot keep them in captivity. They're very interesting.
Even with the largest tanks and the perfect pH level of water, everything, they just die. It's like a strange mystery. I think there's several reasons why, but I've never found out particularly why that happens. But it is absolutely fascinating. I think sharks in general, they also have they have a bad rep, don't they, to be honest with you?
And they do, and they're just, it's like, here we are walking around eating meats and stuff like that. Well, do they really see? They're gonna sometimes, unfortunately, they think you're a seal. They might take a nip at your legs. But I mean, Steven Spielberg, bless his cotton socks, he's made an amazing movie, but it did all give us a bit of stigma about sharks, didn't it?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, they've become like the sort of villain of the oceans. But at the end of the day, if you're in a shark's habitat, you're kind of intruding. We are not marine species. We are a land species. Like we shouldn't be in the water to sort of like blame any wildlife out there that happens to be a predator. It's funny, but yeah, I thought a great white might make a nice addition to the collection.
Today, I know you've got a meeting after this, but I'm sure you could get.
Well, I need to finish this pangolin as well. What else is going? There's a very exciting piece that I haven't told anyone what it is yet. I can't announce it until closer to the time. But it's a charity piece. 100% of the money will be going to charity.
Oh, wow.
I can't even tell you the charity because it will be very, very obvious then what the piece is.
I like keep secrets. That's good. We can keep.
Yeah. So
don't tell me. I don't want to know. I will find out when I find out, and then I will shout about it.
Yes, exactly. What else is there? There's there's so many people.
You've worked with elephants, haven't you? You've drawn elephants because you did work. You donated some pieces, haven't you?
There's a couple of elephants in the collection. One of them is going to be on display, and the other one actually went up for auction in August, and 100% of that money then went to Tusk and ACCF, which are charities that work with communities and animals in Africa. So that's already gone. However, there will be a print version of that at the show, so people can still kind of see it.
Yeah, it's important for people to know that there are print versions. I've had this discussion with Sophie.
Yeah,
I think exactly. I'm getting some print versions of. I mean, they're just amazing. But I mean, how much did am I allowed to ask? Is that inappropriate to ask how much that auctioned for?
The elephant that went for auction in August. So it went for $24,000. So that money all went to hopefully do some good in the world. And
amazing. That's fantastic. Thank you for doing that. I mean, that's, it's that's a really beautiful thing to do. And I think if you do what you love and you love what you do, then everything feels a lot better, doesn't it?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, if I'm honest, when I first started out as an artist, I had a bit of an issue with asking for any money for my art, because for me, I enjoyed doing it as what I love to do. And to have somebody spending their money on something that I've just done because I enjoy it, something didn't feel right for me at first. I had to work through some stuff there in terms of accepting money from people for work. But now
problem, trust me, some of it.
I think it's a thing.
I'd do everything free if I could. That's probably why, I think people think I'm much more successful than I am. I do a hell of a lot of stuff for free because I like doing it. I do it because I'm passionate, but there does need to be a universal exchange of some sort. And like you say, there's the process, and we all have to, it costs to live on this planet. That's the way it is. So that has to.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, it took me a while to realize that the more money that I earned, the more money I had to do good with as well. So I wasn't really helping anybody by, underselling myself. And now obviously I can donate pieces and give 100% to charities and stuff like that, which is nice.
So we've got, I mean, obviously there's going to be a lead up to this. So we're going to be hearing about this in the press. Is there going to be stuff coming up? What can people be looking out for? I'm sure we're going to see you on a few more podcasts. I'm sure there's lots of podcasters want to talk to you.
Yeah, I do love to do a podcast, I must say. We spoke earlier. I did Blank with Giles. In fact, I've done a few with Giles actually. And I always come and record them with him, and it's all good fun. But yeah, I mean, you might be seeing some stuff out there with regards to my work. Hopefully we'll be getting a bit of buzz around it.
Definitely be getting a bit of a buzz around it without a shadow of a doubt. And where's the best place social, as in social media, where's the best place for people to find you and find out about you? Where would you say that is, Sophie?
So I'm on most of the social medias, apart from TikTok. I haven't quite migrated over to that yet. I don't think I ever will, to be honest. But Instagram. I'm Sophie Green, like the color, Sophie Green Fine Art on Instagram. On Twitter, I'm Sophie Green Art, and Facebook, Sophie Green Fine Art. And then my website is sophiegreenfineart.com. So I've basically streamlined all the socials.
And they will all be in the comments below and running across this when we edit it and get it out on Friday, because this will be coming out this Friday. We're so excited.
Amazing.
And I love the way you introduce yourself, Sophie Green, as in the colour. I just love that. Being an artist, that's rather, isn't it? Sophie Green.
Like the colour and the trees and
and the trees and the colour of love, as I said today. We were surprised about that one. Love is green. It's not always if you're into yoga or anything of those other holistic therapies, which you and I do have some crossover on.
Yeah. Although I didn't know that
Giles in was drawing in.
Yeah. Oh God, I can hear him rolling his eyes from downstairs. But I didn't know that green was the colour of love, I have to say. But maybe I'll say that now from now on. Be a conversation starter.
Well, I think green's in the colour is perfect for you. What about dolphins? So have you got anything with dolphins? Is that something that, because I have a lot of friends that are very, obviously I've watched, Blackfish, The Cove. I think Blackfish was one of the last films I actually, it's giving me goosebumps all over. That was one of the last films that I actually watched with my father before he passed away. I was watching it in Ibiza with him actually. And because I went to SeaWorld, and I think I saw Tilikum in a show.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, when I was a kid, we had places in Florida, and we were always going out there, always going on trips. We were very fortunate, and we went to SeaWorld a lot. I mean, that's just what you did. I'm 47. That's what we did when we were kids. And I probably got splashed in the crowd when Tilikum did a big old splash with his tail. And it's not that I would do something like that now, but it was interesting watching it with my father, and he was just so moved. He was just like, oh my God, because again, like you say, there's so much that we do, and we're like sheep.
Yeah.
Thinking about the end. You're like, what do we do? You're just sticking an animal in a bathtub, or you're slaughtering dolphins for their meat or for fun or what? No, it's just so. I would be interested to hear just what you thought about that, because there's a lot of projects involved with that, isn't there?
Yeah, there's, as humans, historically we just use animals. I don't know, there's something about us as humans that think that as a species we are, all the other animals are just here for our benefit or our use or our entertainment. And that I honestly think, there's nothing wrong with people doing stuff if they're ignorant. And I don't mean ignorant in like a horrible way, but we've all been ignorant of something at some point in our lives until we know better. And I've done stuff in the past that looking back, I would never do now. Like when I was young, like a child, I swam with dolphins in like a sea life thing. Didn't think twice about it, because as a family we really loved animals, and my parents thought, oh, this will be a nice experience for the kids, and it was. We had so much fun, and looking back now, I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. I feel like such a hypocrite. But actually I think there's power in making mistakes and then learning from them, and then educating others. And I think Blackfish was a great, it was a great movement, I suppose you could say.
I would say
and I think a lot of good has come from that, and I think we need to keep doing stuff like that, teaching each other, and hopefully these documentaries keep being made and opening our eyes to what goes on in the food industries and the meat industry and dairy and stuff like that. And I think you're spot on. It's so important.
Dolphins. Now you've got to do a shark, a killer whale, and a dolphin.
So I was trying to decide whether to do a great white or an orca, and I ended up going with the great white. So originally I was because I did humpback whales, and I was sort of toying with the idea of doing an orca. And as for dolphins, originally I think I had dolphins on my plan, but I took them off. I just didn't have enough time to sort of like put the whole all the marine species in there, kind of thing, all the main ones. So there will be, I promise you this, there will be some dolphins and orcas coming up. But speaking of which, I don't know if you've seen Frozen Planet 2 yet.
No, I haven't. No.
I won't ruin it for you, but there's some really cool stuff about orcas and how they hunt. So I mean, very sad, but very interesting. And I think that will probably garner a lot of interest from people about orcas from now on.
I mean, I just think they're beautiful. I just think they're absolutely beautiful. I just think I mean, for me personally, I think one of the last times that I really sort of realized that that I couldn't do this anymore was years and years ago, before I had my children. I went to Barcelona Zoo. And there was a bear in Barcelona Zoo, and it was just, oh my God. And I was with my then part like boyfriend. We were, in our 20s, and because I love animals, and I love, I mean, I've got more animals at home than most people should definitely have. I mean, I'm down to 2 dogs from 3 dogs now. My other dog's gone to live with my ex, but I remember just looking at this lion and just at this bear and just thinking, what, and I actually had to leave. I couldn't stay. I couldn't stay. And I really, really respect what you're doing to highlight these things, because there are so many things you can't, you have to choose what aligns with you. And I always try and help people and charities and projects as much as I can personally. But these are really important, because our children and our children's children, they may not see these glorious creatures, may not be in existence in their lifetime. And this could be something to look back on. And that would be, and like you say, the climate change, and actually educating people on how this all affects everything. It's not just one thing. It's all interlinked, and we all need to get behind this. So I think it's a powerful message you're getting across, Sophie. I really do.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, I obviously I think it's important because I've dedicated my life to it. But I think, I often get asked by people, sometimes not even asked, sometimes told by people, like, you should be using your platform to talk about this, or have you ever thought about talking more about, and it will often just be completely random, like charities or things or whatever, or like, oh, but have you thought about raising money for Alzheimer's, or have you thought about this, have you thought about that? And it's almost kind of like if people know that you are into sort of doing something philanthropic, then people are like, well, why don't you raise awareness for this, or why don't you raise awareness for that? And it's not to say that all of those things aren't massively important, but the thing that's the most important to me personally is the natural world, because without it, we wouldn't exist. And yes, there are so many issues that, out there in so many different areas, most of which are man-made, I have to say. And we're currently heading toward, scientists are saying that we're currently heading towards the 6th mass extinction. And it's the first one that is caused by humans. Like, it is us that have caused it. We are the problem, and we can be the solution. So for me, it's massively important to raise awareness for stuff like this. And
if each one of us did something, just each one of us, how many of us are on the planet? Billions. If one person just did one thing or something, then that would make a difference.
Exactly. Yeah.
When people doing a lot, there's only so much you can do, any person, any individual. And I think if I'm hopeful that the human species will get there one day.
Well, I'm glad that you're hopeful, because one of the things that does kind of get to me a little bit is when people are a bit apathetic about the whole thing, and a little bit sort of like, oh, well, what's the point? I'm just one person, or, oh, it's too late. And it's kind of like, well, if everybody thought like that, then the world would have ended yesterday. But we've all got to keep going. I mean, we can't just rely on politicians to make big changes, because that's probably not going to happen. So, every little helps. Honestly, it's all the little stuff. It all adds up.
And I can tell you what, those people, they'll probably come back as little ants or something. Planet as a little ant and get trodden on and see how it feels. I mean, I'm not sure how I feel about reincarnation, but I do often think, what happens to those that don't. Do you know what I mean? It's just interesting. Probably one you and I should have a conversation about.
Yeah. I mean, I don't begrudge people that are sort of a bit negative about it. I think it's just ingrained in people, negativity.
Schools are getting better. I think the schools getting into talk to the children. I know my friend Pascal, who you met, who's from Tanzania, he's going to be doing a talk with the primary school. He's already done one a few years ago. He zoomed and he was showing them all the different jackfruit and talking about all the wildlife and all of these things. And I think, Giles has done lots of talk. I think the more things that you can get into the younger generation as well, because they are more aware. Rachel, who's on my team, who's 23, is just totally different. It is infiltrating that younger generation. So
absolutely,
the wider we can get the message across, then hopefully the bigger changes we can make, and then the more everyone benefits all round. So
oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I've done a few bits like that with the school that I used to work at. Actually, I go in every so often, and it's nice because I used to know the kids because obviously I taught there for a number of years, and then now I go back and I don't know them anymore, but all the kids that I used to teach, like teenagers or like working in the fish and chip shop and stuff, I'm like, oh god, I'm getting old. But
have you ever done a TEDx talk? I can see you doing a TEDx talk.
I haven't, but do you know what, maybe one day I would absolutely love to do one. That's going to be on my
list. I think you should, because that's a strong message and it's a strong platform and it's an amazing way to get across. So yeah, let's manifest that one now.
If we could, that would be great.
We'll do that. That's fine. Well, listen, I'm so excited to come to this exhibition. So just
thank you.
Again, I might have missed the beginning of the episode. The dates are 2nd of November.
Yep, to the 13th.
The 13th is at the Oxo Tower. And people, how do they find out more about the exhibition? Just through obviously everything that's going to be put out there. You turn up. What do we do?
Yes, so you can find out information will be on my website, all over my social medias. You can just Google it. It'll be on the Oxo website as well. It will be everywhere. And honestly, just turn up. It's completely free to enter, to come in and have a look around. There'll be my collection there, and yeah, it will hopefully be very informative and inspiring. And yeah,
I think it's wonderful. It's a privilege to meet you, Sophie. It really is, and it's a privilege to share your work and two of those beautiful pieces behind you. And we've managed to keep them standing up throughout our whole chat.
I know. I was worried. I honestly thought that halfway through they were just going to go.
I was just going to say to Giles, you're just going to have to stand there and hold them. I've had Suzanne do that at an exhibition before while we've been recording. She's had to actually hold with one arm out of camera sight something just to keep it up. So I'm glad we didn't do that, especially with those beautiful sisters.
Well, do you know what? As I was leaving today, I realized I forgot I was in the car and I was driving down the road and I was like, yeah, and I drove back and ran in and got it. But my easel is huge, and funny story about my easel, it's made out of really thick, heavy wood, which it kind of needs to be because my paintings are so big. When I was unpackaging it, when it arrived, a piece of the wood fell from the top of it onto the bridge of my nose, and it broke my nose. And you probably won't be able to see, but I've got a line, like a scar across my nose now. And it's split. I know, it split my nose. I had like blood coming down my face. So I was like, I'm not moving that again. No, I'm going to injure myself.
You and I have more in common than we realise, Sophie. We're definitely going to be getting together soon anyway. But I'm the only person to have ever crashed one of my soapboxes in my charity event. And I have a nice scar on my cheek. So I'm banned from racing. But,
oh, no.
I mean, I'm literally banned, but my team are like, they will not let me get in a car. But it literally is, it's a labour of love. As far as I'm concerned, it's my war wound. It's my labour of love because it's the event I'm most passionate about in the whole wide world. So
exactly. That's the thing. It likes to leave a mark.
It is. So it's a funny story, but it's also, it's your, it's your dedication to the cause, which is what it's all about.
Exactly. Funnily enough, I was actually filming it when I thought, I'll just do a quick time-lapse video of me unboxing my new easel so I can stick it up on social media. And there is a video of me, like, it's a time lapse, so it's really, really quick. And then just at the very end, I run out of shot. And if you slow it down, you can see me like in so much pain. It's just awful, but funny.
I don't want to have a look at it, but I might do. there is similar as me going down the hill. Someone was filming me because we were testing the track the day before. And at first I'm screaming and my scream's like, excited. And then suddenly at this point, when I realize I'm heading towards a haystack at 30 miles an hour, and I hadn't double popped my helmet, which was, I'm lucky I didn't lose my eye. My hand went into my face and I broke all my toes. But I literally, honestly, my screen kind of goes from to you can hear the change in scream. So maybe I should slow-mo that down and get that back out.
Oh yeah,
that encourage people for next year. But
stick it on Top Gear. I'm sure they would play that on Top Gear for you.
Well, look, it's been an absolute pleasure. I know you've got to go and talk to lots of people. You're very busy. We've got a few weeks to go, Sophie.
A few weeks. Do you know what? After I've finished, when this exhibition's over, though, I'm just going to lie face down on my floor for a week and not move.
I think you will well deserve that lie down. Maybe have a few cushions around you. Maybe not face back down on the floor, but maybe we could arrange a nice yoga retreat or something for you to get in.
Yeah,
I have a great friend that's a yoga teacher, so let me see if I can work for you.
Anywhere where there's a nice beach would be nice.
Okay, beaches. I'm all over beaches. That's great. So, well, look, it's been wonderful to have you on the big chat, and I just hope that you get to talk to more people, and we will certainly be following you on your journey. And it's great to chat to you. And maybe if I come along to the event, I can do a bit of an Insta live with you as well.
Oh yeah. You're going to be at the opening night, aren't you? Or is
yeah.
There you go. That'll be amazing.
Live, and we can have a chat with you then. So that'd be great. So we'll
amazing.
But this will be hitting on this Friday at midday, and then everyone needs to get that date in their diary, 2nd of November, and they've got all of that time afterwards to get up and really see these. Just looking at them now, they're amazing. I can only imagine how amazing they're going to be.
Thank you.
To them. So Sophie, it's always a pleasure.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me and having me on to chat. That's I really appreciate it, and for your kind words as well.
My words, don't be silly. Goodness me, it's all ours. It's all our pleasure. And thanks to Giles for connecting us. You know, he's a good egg. He's a good egg. So
he's a very good egg.
A very good egg. On that note, we will get on with our busy days. Go forth and be glorious. I've been inspired this weekend after being at a Richard III event all weekend with my mother, who she keeps telling me I need to go and watch the film about the excavation. I'm like, I've just spent 4 days learning about it. But there could be some podcasts coming up about that too soon. You never know. But
great.
So you go forth and conquer and spread the good word of all these amazing causes you're doing. And people that are listening, check out everything that Sophie's doing to help all these amazing projects. And please share, because that's the way the world works. If we all shared a bit of what everyone was doing, it's amazing how organically that can reach out to people that really didn't know what was going on. So thank you, Sophie.
Thank you.
All right. Well, I'm pretty sure I might speak to you soon.
Yes. Oh, we will. We'll speak soon. Speak to each other soon.
All right. Okay. Well, listen, take care. Have a great day, and bye-bye from the big chat.
You too. Goodbye.
Bye.